morning. My name is Mark Deen. I'm a Deputy Bureau Chief at Bloomberg News in Paris, and I'm not an expert in banking, but I certainly, like all of you, see all the changes that digitalization is making in our lives, and I'm very pleased to be here today with Jean-Laurent Bonnafé, Chief Executive of BNP Paribas, Hugues Bret, who is involved in a startup related to BNP, Nathalie Doré, similar situation, who works in the field of digital banking in the US, and Christophe Dolique, who is also in a digital payment system, and we are going to discuss how this is changing the banking industry. Jean-Laurent Bonnafé, I think we should definitely start with you. As CEO of one of Europe's biggest banks, how do you see, banking is a sector that has traditionally been very stable, almost oligopolistic. Are the changes that are happening in the digital world a threat to the way business has been done for centuries?
Well, certainly there are a lot of changes, for sure. Fintechs, as we'll see, that are bringing a lot of value to this evolution. It's nice, but you have also to understand that this is not the first cycle in which banks are moving quite fast. Maybe in the past, whole history, it could not be seen from the outside, but I can tell you that over the last 30 years, we went through a number of different cycles and had to adapt it to a number of challenges. So it's new because the fintechs are there. They're bringing, I would say, ideas, innovation, value, and we need to partner with that new environment to make it happen and to deliver a better service.
But is there a risk that the new digital technologies that BNP is very involved with are essentially cannibalizing your traditional businesses?
Well, there are a lot of risks. We're in banking. You may imagine there are a lot of risks. The point is that if you look at our business model, the services that are being delivered, the way the markets are and services are being commoditization is on the way. I mean, customers might be individuals, might be corporates, financial institutions that are looking for better, more reliable, more relevant services. So this is the move. It's not a kind of Uberization trend. It's something quite different.
But you do mention commoditization. What do you mean by that?
Means that customers, they are looking for something that is, for a certain usage, relevant, efficient, if possible, cheap, and that's it. It's very different. But on the other way, you have a lot of very complex, value-added services that are coming. So it's a kind of split in the market. It was kind of to be a global average banking market, and it's being split in two different dimensions. One that is efficiency, digital, efficiency, smart, and the other one is value added. That is also based upon digital to some extent. So it's different.
Okay. Nathalie Doré, you are CEO in North America for Atelier BNP Paribas. You're based in San Francisco, the home of Uber. Jean-Laurent Bonnafé has just told us that he's not worried about the Uberization of the banking industry and that it's not really commoditization. What do you think?
I think I agree on the fact that I don't think there will be a Uberization of the banking industry. But I think what is interesting with the Uber model and with the digital players in general is that they brought in the table new standards in terms of customer experience, as an example, in terms of satisfaction of the client. They bring the digital tools to change the way you do that with the client, like the instant rating on Uber. Each time you use the service, you instant rate the driver. And even if the rate is not good, then the driver cannot operate anymore. So it goes quite far. So I think on instant rating, having the service available at one touch, that's some things that bring this kind of new standards. And for the bank, it's very interesting to also operate this kind of new standard inside the bank. So at Atelier, we help the bank to do this kind of digital transformation, So as an example, we work a lot on service design, which is a way to solve problem, bringing a nice and desirable answer to the client. So service design is a kind of practice we developed a lot inside the bank to bring this new standard also at the bank. And I think it's really linked to customer obsession, which is also a thing that is very interesting. And in the US, it's something that is very, very important. Also in France, that's sure. So,
I mean, what I hear from you is that there is a better customer experience possible, which is also, of course, the case with Uber. But is there money to be made in it?
It's not a better customer experience. It's the fact that they are digital native. All these digital players, they are digital native. So they started with that and they keep going with that. For the banks, the traditional banks, they were not digital native because they are much more older. So they had to bring this new standard inside the bank. So we help doing that. And service design is an example, but there are lots of other things we can do for that.
Okay. Christophe,
sorry,
please.
Open innovation is also a good solution. And we were talking about commoditization. I think being more innovating is something that is a good solution for that. So open innovation, it's working with startups, but not only startups, it's also with academics, with big, also other corporate companies. And you can do open innovation in addition to the internal innovation that is more standard. And we have there are lots of entrepreneurs in the room, and we have lots of labs and acceleration program, whatever it is in Paris, Shanghai, or San Francisco. And for me, it's important that is a win-win model. For the startup, it has to be a business acceleration, and for the bank, it has to be an innovation acceleration.
Okay. Christophe Dolique, you are CEO of Lyf Pay, which is similar to Apple Wallet or Alipay. Perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about your business model, why it's different from those other businesses, and where you think that part of the payments and banking business is going.
Okay. So today, with new technology and particularly smartphone coming into the picture, new consumption habits, can you hear me? New regulation, payment market is completely reshuffling. So we are going to see big changes. So we are moving from a situation where payment is a function, so paying, to a one-to-one marketing services, omnichannel, personalized, easy to use, and which can be enriched with all the different ingredients which you have in the shopping experiences. So loyalty card, couponing, offering, etc. So you see, we are moving from to a brand new value proposition, much beyond payment. And in this context, Lyf Pay is providing a mobile payment solution and loyalty solution, which take benefit from all these changes. So we are completely revamping and revisiting the value proposition in order to go much beyond payment. First point. And second point, as we think that the payment is for merchant and for consumer, we are developing a model where we put the relationship of the merchant and the consumer at the heart of the solution, and also at the heart of the governance, because we are bringing together leading players from the retail and banking ecosystem in order to have a governance well balanced between these two worlds, which is not the case of our competitor at all, because in fact they are just addressing their own needs and they are not making sure that the ecosystem is well balanced between retailers, banks and consumers.
I think it's very interesting, but what I see as the challenge for such a business is how do you get to have the liquidity, almost the dominant position which you need, which makes everyone want to use you everywhere. I mean, it's sort of like Visa, MasterCard, American Express. You can go everywhere, they will take them, but if you have an obscure credit card, they may not.
Exactly. So the point is, we are in payment, but before being in payment, we are in innovations. So when you are in innovation, you just need to target first the early adopters. And I don't think that MasterCard or Visa have been deployed everywhere since day one. And we have a strategy to target, in fact, the market where there is a real need, either for the consumer or for the merchant, to deploy such a solution where the adoption it's easier than elsewhere. And we have planned in order to deploy and extend across the different market and the different segments.
But I suppose it's also vital that you have BNP and Crédit Mutuel behind you, which changes the perspective completely.
Completely. So we don't have only BNP and Crédit Mutuel behind us, but we have also Auchan, Carrefour, Total, MasterCard, all these big names, because we are in an ecosystem challenge. And if we are not able to succeed by ourselves. So it's very important to bring the right expertise, the right means, the right financing capacity, etc., in order to be in a position to compete with the person or the guy you mentioned.
Okay, Hugues Le Bret, you are Chief Executive of Compte-Nickel. We're talking about commoditization and Uberization. You've absolutely launched the low-cost bank for people that don't have access to banking services. Tell us a bit about it. What gave you the idea, and how do you see this fitting into the greater framework of the banking business?
At the very beginning, we wanted to provide a solution to bankless people. And we thought we had to find something that would be very simple, completely transparent, with few prices, just 5 prices, and completely universal. So to accept everyone without condition of revenue, of savings, and not to fire anyone. And when you can't pay anymore, and when you have been over your overdraft authorizations, you can be fired of the bank. I was CEO of Boursorama, and I did fire some customers because their behavior was not the one we did expect from them. And we wanted that anyone could open an account without conditions. So we had to split the different banking businesses and to have the current account as a commodity. So no credit, no savings, and to have a client journey that would be very simple. So we were born from technology. We didn't invent the client behavior where you enter in a shop around the corner, which is not a bank, which is a tobacconist. You scan your ID, and we generate the IBAN. So we are in the IBAN business, we are in the payment business, but we don't provide credits, don't provide overdraft, and don't provide savings. Just an account to pay and to be paid. And we were completely wrong because bankless people are people who earn between 2,000 and 3,000 euros and who had 2 consumer credits and who had had a difficulty in their life, divorce, jobless, or whatever. And the main phenomenon of Compte-Nickel is all the people who went over their overdraft authorization in banks and who had incident fees. And you have 40% of the French population that every quarter go over their overdraft authorization. And over this limit, each payment costs 8 euros. So people paid hundreds of euros of banking fees a year, and now coming to us, they pay something like 50 euros a year. So they save money, and it's massive. And we could do that because we developed real-time technologies, and for each payment, we checked if people have the money on the account or don't have the money on the account. So they are blocked. And the societal phenomenon with technology, with the evolution of consumption, with brightness, people are sharp because they compare everything. They want to save money. Is that a lot of people don't want to spend more money than what they have. You can spend more money if you have a project, you want a household, you want a consumer credit to go on holidays, but spending more than what you have without knowing it and going in the deepness of the cost, nobody wants it anymore. People want to be bright, to know, to compare. So we did develop a real-time core banking system. And so we gained more than 30,000 customers a month. And we were very surprised to have everyone as customer because the will at the very beginning was very generous. And it's a value that everybody shares. And we have people who come just to pay on the internet and to have a secured card with no overdraft, to pay abroad because we have a lower cost, to give the card to the children as soon as 12 years old. So we became universal, starting from a wrong vision, because the vision was to provide banking accounts to people who didn't have, and we provide banking accounts to everyone. And I think that we are in the IBAN market. We provide IBANs, we provide accounts, and it will be just like in the telephony. In the telephony, 10 years ago, you had an equipment rate of something like 70%. Now in France, it's 150%. In banking accounts, it will be the same because of the commoditization. You have an equipment rate of 98% in France. I think it will go up to 150% because you will have your main account in your bank with a lot of services, and you will have other accounts for specific use, travel, internet payments, children, or whatever. And you will have a number of banking accounts that will grow with the development of what we call the usage.
It's a very interesting story indeed, because of course my first question was where does one find the clients? But it brings me back to you, Jean-Laurent, Bonnafé. Do you think that is there a cannibalization involved, at least in terms of margins?
What we are discovering is that that kind of innovation is pushing up from 90% up to 150%. So these are new markets. So it's something different. Of course, to some extent, it pushed down fees, revenues, but it's always the situation in any sector. You have new innovation, new technology, and that way. But what is more interesting is this is creating new markets, new way of being in the payment system or in the banking industry. So this is great because it's reinventing the bank, in fact, and reinventing the sector.
Very interesting. Now, both Christophe and Hugues, you essentially have startups, but you have completely different approaches. Hugues, you started yours independently and subsequently have been bought by BNP, essentially. And Christophe, you came from within the established banking sector because Crédit Mutuel and BNP have got together and made this product offer together. What is the best way to go in fintech, and how does it work?
Depend the market you are targeting. I think it's very comfortable to start with the banks because as the market is very regulated, it's easier for us to start. But then as it comes to an ecosystem and an industrial challenge, it's very important to bring other people around the table. And this is what we did. In fact, we have created a governance where we have leaders in the banking industry, leaders in the retail industry, which help us, first of all, to give us the credibility. Second of all, they help us to defining, developing, and promoting the solution in order to get the critical mass, in order to access to market that we will not access, and to compete with the big names you are mentioning. So we started small, and we grow with a right player. I think we get the best of both worlds, the fintech agility and the strengths of the player I mentioned.
Hugues, do you have a different view? Is it really possible to start up a bank without being a bank?
Since the beginning, we are plugged to the system. And even if we have a very social aim, we are a private company. And there is no contradiction. We were financed by capital. And we were very independent, but we spent a lot of time, and half of my time, to find money. And we found money at the very beginning with 140 individuals who did put their own money, then family offices, then private equity. And this is the equity story and the model of the Silicon Valley, when you start with friends and family, and then you list or you find an industrial solution. When you start as independent, you go very fast, but you take a lot of risks. Everywhere, in operations, in compliance, in service clients, you are too short. And when you begin to gain 30,000 customers a month, and at the end of the year we want to be over 40,000 customers a month, when you have 610,000 customers, when you have millions of operations and cents of millions of operations, when you solicitate your database 40 times a second for the payments, you have an issue. And the issue is you are losing time because you prioritize everything. You don't develop the accounts for corporates. You don't go abroad. You don't start to provide insurances or other offers to serve the clients, and they have the need of that. So you lose time. And you have all the former shareholders who have done their job. So you have to find a solution. And the best solution is an industrial solution where you have synergies. For instance, just having the prices of MasterCard with the prices of MasterCard, we gain something like 1 million euros this year, just being plugged with BNP Paribas. We have a lot of synergies on IT security. Very, very important. We have a lot of synergies on compliance issues. And we have the meanings of a strong growth. And we have thought with BNP Paribas a new business plan. And before making the deal, we have worked on a common business plan, a 2020 new business plan. And I believe in this business plan, and I think we can deliver it. It's very important to build something. And BNP Paribas has understood our very different model and has accepted to keep the brand, to keep the management, to keep the tobacconist, to accelerate the rhythm of the number of tobacconists we will install. We wanted to arrive to achieve 5,000 point of sales by 2018. We'll achieve 10,000 point of sale by 2020. So we go very high, and we have a new ambition, so we can go very fast. So everybody is happy. The shareholders who went at the very beginning and took risk have had their leverage and they're happy. The management has a solution to take the time to focus on business and not on the next step for the next tour to raise money. And we have a strong partner who respect us and help us to go faster. So it was the real time at the very moment. And we knew since the very beginning that after having done the job for 5 to 6 years, we'll have to find a partner. We had the luck to have different partners, different possibilities. And I have to say, not because Jean-Laurent is there and Thierry Laborde is here, because he did a great job. We felt a will. And we had the speed we needed to decide. And we found a very clear governance. When you know who decides, to be very clear, we met with Thierry Thursday. He talked with Jean-Laurent the same day. They had an executive committee on the Monday, a board on Wednesday, and we had the offer in 1 week. I had never seen that. So when you have a common will, you go fast, and you can create a real strong common future.
Sounds like a win-win situation. Jean-Laurent Bonnafé, does BNP intend to continue to acquire small companies in the fintech sector?
Yes, this is part of the strategy, but you have to understand, and this is a very good example with Compte-Nickel, that this has to be for the benefit of us, but also of the company. You cannot move if for us or for the company it's not the right move. And you can acquire, but you can also partner, you can co-develop. So there are many ways to be in a kind of association with fintechs. So this is very important. And this is really part of the strategy because, of course, even if we have some ideas internally, we cannot have any ideas. So we need to look widely what's coming, and then we'll choose, and we'll try to be fast and relevant focus.
And across your different businesses, what is how does it look? We've talked a lot about retail banking, but there are other aspects.
It's all over the place. It's valid for corporate and investment banking. We have developed over the years new initiatives like Cortex for foreign exchange, smart derivatives for derivatives, insurance, consumer lending. It's all over the place. It's not something that is just retail. It's a new phenomenon for any type of banking services. And I can tell you, this is really great.
Natalie, tell us, what are the next big innovations in the pipeline? What is California going to surprise us with in the months and years ahead?
Well, I think there are two things, but they are not the only one for sure, around precision banking and open banking. And actually the two are linked. Precision banking, the banks already do segmentations, they already have individualized product, etc. But I think we will go far. And because the consumer, and especially in the retail banking, they want more and more customized products, more and more customized services, and also around the process. So they will push for that, and the millennials are a good example of that, but it's not only the millennials that are pushing. So on the client side, they are asking for that. On the technology side, the technology is mature enough now to be able to have this graduation of products. So with artificial intelligence, with big data, smart data, the intelligence we'll put in the data is very, very important. So both are ready. So I think it's a good timing to do that. So what the bank, according to me, will do, they will have to have loads of options. They won't show all the options to the client. They will have to have loads of options, and then to pick up the right service or process or product to the right client. So to do that, I think we will go more and more to a platform approach. And we will go more and more with banks that will aggregate some fintech startups because they won't develop everything internally. So that's why open banking will be more and more interesting, and API banking to have a strategy that is very well defined for that. So for me, that's a big trend. And to do so, you will have to be very transparent, very secure, and to be very careful about the data privacy. And I think the bank have a big play to play. So the banking as a platform approach is a good bet for the banks.
The security and the data privacy are really where a big organizations and big banking institutions come in and can provide value added, I suppose.
Yeah, but the banks are used to that because they are used to be very regulated, etc. So they are more used to that than the digital players, as an example. So I think it's an asset for the banks.
Jean-Laurent, Bonnafé, for a final question. Do you agree that essentially data is the next big area of innovation in banking, and where do you see the challenges that lie ahead?
It's clear that data is part of the future. It's a huge move. It will help us to better understand the franchise customers, to be more focused, relevant, efficient. And of course, if data are very important for the future, we have also to say the way we are. I mean, in terms of conduct, in terms of compliance, in terms of risk, in terms of global culture. So we are going to regenerate a new model with a better usage of data, creating new products, new services, and reinventing the bank. So this is for the years to come.
Is it a challenge to get the mix between these different things right, between the traditional support and the innovation?
I'm an engineer. I used to be very good at data, and I can tell you, a bank that is a service company, we are really a service company, everybody is welcoming this approach. Everybody is welcoming the approach. The complexity is that you have to move that way, respecting the culture of a certain local market. And not any local market is just equivalent to another one. So you have to be not only smart at data, but at the way you are moving with data, and be very sure and certain that customers, they accept the way you are moving with data. And this is not mass, this is not data, this is slightly more difficult to grab because in Germany it's different compared to France, to Italy, and of course to the States. And Chinese, it's another story too. So yes, data, but the way you move with data is not just only data.
Okay, thank you very much to all of you, and thank you to the audience for listening. Merci, au revoir.
Thank you.